Hey everyone. Tonight I'm welcoming a crew of the 23rd Century Productions to talk about the cool military science fiction setting for Savage Worlds, where you are over-equipped, under-trained mercenaries in a universal war. I've talked to the team before, but they have some new stuff and a Kickstarter. So let's talk about Battlelords of the 23rd Century. Savage World, one of the best games today.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun dun. Hey everyone, it's Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff. We'd like your support. Likes, subscribes, get this kind of content. Support goes right to the channel. Buy stuff, including books, like these kind of books we buy for the channel. So please support us. So I'm here with the crew from 20th Century Productions. I'm thrilled. I wanted you guys on as soon as I found out that you had a new Kickstarter. Almost missed it because you sent me a note on Twitter, and I don't look at Twitter too much anymore. I was like, oh no, I almost missed the Kickstarter. So I'm super happy to have you. And so I have Tony, Dave, and Kurt with me today, and we're going to go and have them introduce themselves, talk about what they do, and then give you kind of an overview of first Battlelords of the 23rd Century. What's it all about? What makes it cool? And then let's talk more about some of the more recent products that maybe we didn't catch the last time we talked, and all about the Kickstarter, right? We're here. Let's talk about the Kickstarter and make sure that everybody knows what you guys have coming down the pipeline. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So
Thanks
why
for
don't we go around the horn and have you guys introduce yourself?
So
All
I'll
right.
start. Dave, so I've been involved with 23rd Century since we started up about, was it 7 years ago now?
2017 or 16-ish.
Yeah, so technically it's 8 years now. Wow. Time flies. We picked it up from an IP perspective from the previous holders of that, which was SSDC, and we've been flying this flagship for quite some time now, and quite happy to do things like run Kickstarters and get new books out there, new content, talk to people, do a lot of things. In the efforts that we have, I tend to be the editor because I'm the guy that can scroll up at a really fast pace and go, this is off by a pixel. And no, it's not. Yeah, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. How'd you see that? That's why I'm CDO. So CD, but in the proper alphabetical order, as it should be.
So I'm Tony Oliveira. We wear a lot of hats here. Kurt and I do a lot of the same stuff at the company. Although he's doing a lot more layout these days, I do writing, editing, layout. I flog the artists to keep them moving, and Dave flogs the rest of us to keep us moving. That's pretty much my job.
Very cool.
Much flogging to be had.
Until the morale improves, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Meetings always continue until the morale improves.
Some
Then they
of
keep
us
going.
like the flogging, so we just keep, come on, keep going, keep flogging. Come on.
Ooh, playtime.
Yes, exactly. I'm Kurt. Like Tony said, I do a lot of the layout. Also do some of the writing and that, and arranging, that kind of thing. I did a stint as a technical writer for a while, so when I go through it and really put my mind on it, it kind of shrinks down, and then Tony has to go, but that's not, we don't have the flower, so he has to expand it back up. So kind of the essential fight there is literally, I'm like, this has to be very specific, everything has to mean. He's like, but we have to have examples where people understand it. I'm like, okay.
Well, people don't have to understand it.
Exactly. Make what you will of it. But so that's kind of one of the many roles that we all wear, as well as going to the cons and setting up, running games, doing all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're all pretty heavily invested in this, and been pumping out a lot of content. So both for Savage Worlds and our classic system. So, and we plan to keep doing it for both. So it's been fun.
What a good segue right into talking about content. So tell me all about, for those who haven't watched, I think we got together a couple of times already, but for those who haven't watched kind of the overviews and the things we've done before, tell everybody about Battlelords of the 23rd Century. What's it all about? What makes it special?
For those unfamiliar with Battlelords, it was originally conceived and written back in 1990 by U.S. Army veteran Larry Sims. And he based a lot of it on his experience in the military. So you can take on the role of soldiers, corporate mercenaries, pirates, spies, bounty hunters, pretty much anything you can think of. And as you mentioned, it is within a galaxy at war where you're fighting off the techno-organic hordes of the arachnids and the nano swarms of the Atlanteans. But there are certain overarching themes. Your boss is usually a jerk. You're usually considered expendable. Dark humor is a coping mechanism for both the characters and the players because it is military based. And it's about sort of trying to. You're a grunt in the trenches. Everything's built by the lowest bidder, and you're trying to make it big. You're trying to make your mark on the universe, and sometimes you make it, and sometimes you end up signing on with a company because they have to resuscitate your corpse after a fight. Now you're stuck in a longer contract. But it has 13 species, not including subvariations. So there's a lot of different characters and aliens and species that you can play in the game.
Well, they don't all look like us. They can look very creepy. We've got the Fentari who have 4 tentacles instead of arms. They have eyes on the sides of their heads so they can watch their own back. Because in their culture, if you can take someone out and nobody can find the body or prove you did it, that's not murder. If it was murder, we would have motive and we would have a clear chain of evidence to show that somebody did it, and their family, the guy's family, would have taken care of it. So this isn't a murder. The person's just gone. They're missing. People go missing all the time for all kinds of reasons. So it's survival of the fittest. He clearly wasn't fit. He just needed to go. And we have a new boss that's much better.
Yeah, so in the system, there's a lot of different aliens. It's for Savage Worlds side of it, it adds a whole new layer of kind of the military equipment, armor, weapons, how things interact with each other. I think that's something that a Savage Worlds player who's kind of into gear, who's sort of tired of the pistols 2d6, and it's a pistol and it doesn't matter what it is, it's always a pistol. I think you guys brought some interesting ideas that people may get excited about. So it's just I think it's cool. So it's just tell a little bit about sort of that aspect of it.
In Battlelords, it's the 23rd century, so there are handheld weapons that can vaporize tanks. And our rule of thumb is if you're not in armor, you're just going to be a thin red mist in a few seconds. So the system assumes that everyone is running around in armor, and it's all fully customizable. And there are multiple weapon systems, and they each sort of find a way around that armor in different ways. So it encourages people to run with a diversity of weapon types. So you can shoot something at him. Well, that didn't work. Let's try this. Let's try this to try and find that one weakness in the armor to get around it. And people can make anything. You can run around from anything to a bulletproof vest to your own Iron Man suit, or even small mecha. We call them ultra armor. It definitely encourages players to dig into that gear and build what they like.
Yeah, but the different weapon systems have different effects that happen on arrays. So you get other things that kind of proc off as you get those good rolls.
So it goes well beyond the just an extra d6 of damage. It's got effects that so that's cool. I love the sort of reading through it. I haven't had a chance to do another sci-fi campaign recently. I've been running my players through fantasy, and we did some post-apocalypse stuff. But it's really, if you were wanting to do kind of hardcore military science fiction where weapons make a difference. I don't know, like the military order makes a difference. The fact you work for people and you have factions, it definitely is the kind of setting that I think people would definitely gravitate towards. It's much more a full, robust, full-bodied kind of setting versus like the science fiction companion, which is fabulous and amazing, but that's very kind of build your own generic. It doesn't have sort of the richness, I think, that Battlelords does. You can just see that there's just a lot of meat in this book, and this is only the core. This doesn't even touch on some of the other books that I have on my shelf back there that you guys have. So Well, I mean, people are going to ask, well, what do you bring to the science fiction world that maybe just the generic companion doesn't?
I would say the hat box.
Yeah,
So
so
the amount of equipment that we have that's different than just about anything else that you'll see in a sci-fi setting is kind of unique. So in Battlelords, even if you die, and I know in Savage Worlds it's really hard to kill a character, but even if you do kill that character in Battlelords, it's not a question of if you can come back; it's how many times and if you can afford it. So we have devices like the hat box, which will literally snip off your head and cryogenically preserve it so you can carry it back with a handy carrying case or carrying handle and regrow your body once you get back to uh, the base, because it's actually cheaper to regrow your body than to train a new grunt. And we can add years to your contract. So stuff like that, and it makes it truly different, and it gives a whole another feel of that dark humor, because you get the post decapitation blues and things like that that kind of go along with it, that are part of the humor and the lore of the setting. So
yeah, we bring a lot of. You don't have to play it gritty, but certainly it's designed to handle that. The injury table has been greatly expanded
Yep.
to reflect the Battlelords critical hit table, which is inspired by battlefield injuries. So it gets a little grim and gritty. Like I said, the armor is fully customizable. There are hundreds of armor items. There's dozens of weapon systems, and as Dave said, a lot of them are very unique. They each have a unique effect that they'll generate on an attack roll raise. And it's not only is the setting unique, but I think that setting also lends itself into making a lot of the equipment unique.
The
Very
good
cool.
thing is really we've done a lot to bring some of the background and history and things that are kind of inherent in classic and kind of highlight them through the use of the edges that are species specific. So there are different things that species are good at, and so the edges kind of help frame out how these species are different from your usual human or elf or dwarf if you're thinking more of a fantasy setting.
Very cool. Very cool. So, um, I the last time we talked, you were kickstarting Uncle Ernie's ARM catalog. How is that doing? How did that come out? And uh, what ultimately? How did it look when it kind of came to press? What I don't know if everybody knows about it. It's obviously it's a catalog, so there's going to be some interesting stuff in it. But tell us a little bit about that, because that's one of the newer products.
Yeah. The Uncle Ernie, the ARM Summer Catalog. Uncle Ernie is a nihilistic genius in the Battlelords universe that essentially builds monsters for
Yeah,
fun and profit.
catalog.
Usually
Yeah.
fun, yes. And the whole book is, we were like, what if we do it like a 1980 Sears catalog? Only it has living killing machines that you can order if you're unscrupulous. And yeah, so the whole book is laid out by a catalog, and Kurt will tell you, I think it's probably the prettiest book we've ever done.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, primarily, it compared to the other Savage Worlds books, it's been a little slow in terms of sales, which always surprised me. I'm like, what Savage Worlds player doesn't need more monsters?
Yeah, I guess that's rough. I mean, I think I think there's a lot of space for new creatures, and especially interesting ones that aren't like the old school. Because I know we've got the Savage Pathfinder that's got the bestiary that's old school D&D style monsters and stuff like that. I would think that there'd be a great need for something that's unique and different that you can throw at players that they wouldn't have expected. So yeah, that's interesting. But hopefully this video helps get the word out a little bit more even, and because I think it's a great product. It's really kind of cool concept, and it's usable. I think we talked last time. It's kind of usable in other settings too. You don't have to kind of say, well, it's just for science fiction, hardcore military. You could pull these out and use them in all sorts of things. I thought about that Lost Colony. You could pull some of these out and use them in there. Sort of that.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
The creatures are diverse enough that you could throw them in not only anything with the sci-fi companion, but you could do them in contemporary horror settings.
Oh yeah.
You could do there's a couple that would even fit in the Deadlands. Just switch them to steampunk, and you're good to go. And and the whole back part of that book is an appendice of all of the creature powers. So if you want to build your own, you have a whole toolkit in the back of that book you can use to build your own creatures that are probably unlike anything that the players have seen before.
Yeah, and it's super
Steampunk.
rich. It's got a lot of that stuff in there that you can draw upon.
Yeah, steampunk creeping death would be perfect. You've got the zombie-like thing that's powered by steam. It's just lurching forward, spraying all kinds of biochemical weapons as it lurches forward, coming after you, and then all of a sudden it rushes forward, and it's in your face, and it's chewing on you, and you're like,
So that's one of your
I
favorites,
think
I'm guessing.
it's a fun one.
For the horror setting, the murder wabbits are probably one of the best because they look normal until you look away, and then they're like the teeth come out and their eyes turn red, and then they try to chew your face off. You know,
The Benefican would fit in the Cthulhu campaign. They look a lot like deep ones.
yep.
Well, they might also fit
They're-
into a certain kind of style of a fantasy campaign. I don't know, big pointy teeth. And maybe I don't know.
A lot of the stuff would also fit with Rifts or
Oh, sure, yeah.
Cyberpunk.
So have you taken some of have you ever had a chance to see people in a Rifts campaign use some of these ideas? And it seems really well suited to kind of do a crossover or take advantage of that. Have you ever seen that? Or
I haven't seen it, but you're right. Now that you say that, it is kind of a no-brainer. But the systems um, it overlap nicely, and Rifts can kind of handle the over-the-top weapons and armor
yeah,
that you have in Battlelords. So a lot of these monsters were designed to deal with people who are wearing over-the-top weapons and armor, so they would do fine in a fight against a glitter boy or whatever you're running in Rifts.
yeah, because it's kind of mega damage too, kind of vibe, in with your game, and so it's pretty cool. I think it was. I guess what I'm trying to say for everybody watching is that there's a lot of great things to mine here. The setting is pretty cool. The mechanics and the fact that you have all these extra weapons and armor and the mechanics around them is really cool. The catalog, I think, is a great addition. So there's a lot to take advantage of, no matter what setting you're using, I think. Um, so so is there any other products that come out recently, or should we be talking about the Kickstarter? Because that's exciting.
I think ARM Summer Catalog was the last one we released, and that's compatible with both Classic and Savage version of Battlelords. We have a few in the works for Classic that are in development. Our Orion Species Guide, and we've been pretty much pouring our efforts into converting Charlie Foxtrot, which is our adventure compendium for Classic Battlelords, over to Savage, which is the one that we're Kickstarting.
Yeah, you kind of rolled right into that. So you have the Kickstart. When is the Kickstarter finishing up so that people know when they need to jump in on it?
Well, I wanted it to finish on October 30th, but I'm bad at math. So it's finishing the morning of October 31st, which I sort of was trying to avoid Halloween. This is the first
You had
time
one
Dave's
job.
hearing about it. Yeah, I had one job, and I messed it up.
I didn't care. I was like, yeah, probably should avoid that. And it's like, so to go before or go after, I don't care.
Well,
That may be
who
what it
knows?
was. I said do either one, and then he split the middle. It's like, oh, well, just right here.
Well, if you're sitting at home waiting for the trick or treaters, why not? You might as well jump on a Kickstart and kickstart it. So, so tell me more about um, this new Kickstarter. What's it all about? I know you said it's a conversion, but let us know what you're getting out of it, what's kind of cool in it, so that everybody will go and jump on the Kickstarter.
Our original concept with Charlie Foxtrot was to kind of showcase the Battlelords universe and the things you could do in it. So it's got, I think, 5 or 6 one-shot scenarios, and in each scenario, there's a pre-generated team you can run if you want.
Oh, cool.
But each scenario has a different team. They are a different occupation, and they're doing different things. So in one, you're playing soldiers, and you're pretty high level. I think in the Savage Worlds conversion, they're heroic level, or heroic experience. Another, you're playing pirates, and you're just scraping by. Another, you're playing colony inspectors, and another, you're playing corporate mercenaries on an espionage mission. So we wanted to kind of showcase that you can do all of these different things in the Battlelords universe. Your characters can have different occupations, and we didn't just want players or to well, I always start out at the lowest level. It's like, this is what it's like to tinker in the sandbox if you want to play with the big toys. And the soldiers are essentially heroic experience running around in mechanized battle armor with missile racks and anti-tank weaponry. So we run the whole gamut, and we wanted to convert that over to Savage Worlds. We thought it would have a lot of appeal. Each scenario's got maps. Each scenario's got the pre-made team, and you can try out different occupations and different power levels within the game.
And I know
It
people.
also helps.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
It
Continue.
also helps to drive home the point that when you're playing this game, the gear is a big part of what's going on. So if people want to bring their own characters in, we remind them you really do want the armor and the weapons, because this just being at heroic level isn't going to be enough in the heroic campaign. You're going to be a thin red mist in about 3, 2, 1. Oh, there he's gone. You can't die. Well, actually, when you take that much damage, you can.
Yeah.
Get the hat box ready.
Yeah.
Hat box.
Yeah. The other thing that we liked about it was, and reason we went along this route was, each section of it kind of gives a different, flavor as far as what you're fighting against. So, the corporate mercenaries, you're going against another, like mercenary team basically. In soldiers, you're going against the arachnids. In the pirates, you're actually, stealing it. And guess what? You run into something unexpected happens, because that's the name of the book. Yeah. Charlie Foxtrot. Imagine what that means. So in each one of those colony inspectors, you go on, you think you're just checking out a colony, and well, things kind of go off the rails. So, I mean, that's everything about it shows and showcases a little bit more about the Battlelords universe, gives you an idea and a flavor of that. So it kind of incorporates all those different aspects into it.
So how long or big are these adventures? Are these multi-session? Are they a kind of a Savage Tales kind of vibe, or is it a kind of a multi-faceted and it requires more than a session to play?
Each one can be played typically in 4 hours or less.
Okay.
We
Okay.
want people to be able to get in. They're ready to play as soon as you read it, and it's like 8 pages, and then you've got 8 pages of characters, and try it out. Give it a shot, see what you like. You're like, well, maybe you don't like being corporate mercenaries. Let's try soldiers. Well, maybe you don't like soldiers. Let's try being spies. That way you can kind of shop around, so to speak, before you pick something for maybe a long-term campaign.
So now is now this these adventures, are they somewhat standalone, or really you really do need the all the richness of the core book to be able to jump in and play them?
You can do them standalone, but as Kurt mentioned, that we do have a disclaimer in there that, and Dave also mentioned this because it's important. If you go in thinking, well, I have a veteran or heroic level character, I'll just play them as is, you're not going to have a good time. You really need some of the gear, the weapons, or it's going to be a short trip. But with that understanding, that you really need to be wearing armor for some of these missions. You can bring what you've got, as Kurt said, but you certainly don't want to go go in without gear.
So
Yeah, for those who are not familiar with what we've done with armor, it effectively gives additional wounds and toughness. So all of a sudden, the expectation with the guns is they have to get through all that. So if you can imagine, if you don't have that extra toughness and you don't have those extra wounds, all of a sudden, you're starting to look like you really only have this much time between your getting the trigger pull on the other side of the gun there, and that really nasty bolt of energy taking its time to just chew through you, and then the wall, and the next wall, and the next wall.
So you need some things to cover that fleshy meat bag that, something hard and strong and, to cover all.
Yes.
Well, that's pretty cool. So would you think that these, since they're 4-hour slots, there's pre-gens, first question is, hey, how would this do in a convention? Have you guys run these in conventions or in kind of, one shots for players? How did it go if you've done that?
Kurt, you want to take that one?
Well, these are actually, most of them are convention. What we usually made these for was conventions for the classic Battlelords, and then we converted some of them over to Charlie. We converted them over to Savage Worlds, and they've been pretty well received. I mean, on both ends of them. I mean, they're kind of, the name of the book is Charlie Foxtrot for a reason. If you got a military background, you understand that reference. But everything goes off the rails, and so with the Fast, Fun, and Furious of Savage Worlds, that takes on a whole new meaning when you've got plasma weapons, and you're sitting on a train going at 120 mile or 120 kilometers an hour on a acid-filled world heading to a prison.
And you've got the exploding dice that doesn't help any, right? Just as far as making things happen. So.
It helps because then half the time the train ends up losing the side, and because not only do the dice explode, but so does part of the train.
No, you're not giving too much away now, right? That's kind of the start of it, I'm guessing.
The name of it is called, one of them is called Train to Hades. So
very cool.
Hades is the name of the prison planet that you're on.
Yeah.
At the time.
Very
so
apropos,
a lot of these scenarios have had the benefit of being play tested for literally years at conventions, and us taking the feedback we've gotten from players about what they like, what they didn't like, and watching all the crazy stuff that the players do and go, oh, we didn't think of that. We probably need to adjust for that. And incorporating it into the scenarios.
Yeah. The fun thing about it is when you have professionals play it and they play it like a professional, it's actually kind of anticlimactic because they do all the right things and they avoid the tendency to go, screw it. The fun is that the world's full of people who aren't professionals. They're all amateurs, and they're just like, screw it. We made too much noise. I don't have a good answer for this. I'm going hot. No.
Shoot first, ask questions later, right?
Exactly.
All we had to do was go over here, and then it would have been fine. But no, you had to shoot, and not just shoot a little. You decided to go crazy with it. So now everyone knows where we are.
No such thing as a stealth mission. Really, come on. Players always somebody fails a stealth roll and their battle ensues, right?
One of the themes of Charlie Foxtrot is that they say every military engagement the plan falls apart at first encounter, and that's doubly true for Battlelords. And all of these scenarios are written with the assumption that things, like Kurt said, are going to go off the rails. But we have, like Dave mentioned, we have had military. Were they special forces guys, Kurt?
Yeah, they were Army Rangers.
We have had actual military combat vets who played it the way they would handle a real encounter, and it is. You can get through it without screwing up if you know what you're doing. But if you don't, it's just as much fun. They're written with the assumption that you're going to mess up, and just enjoy it, roll with it.
And the ironic thing was, for us, it was kind of anticlimactic that they were like going through and they're hitting all the points and they're doing the things they need to do to make sure it's quiet. They're in, they take care of things, they get out, and like, this is good. And we're like, okay.
And we have a list of stuff that we just throw at people that are like that because we want to, get them unhinged and get them and they just rolled with it. They took it in stride. It didn't even phase them. They just they steamrolled it and kept moving forward.
So you're saying all styles can come and play. The careful ones and the crazy ones, it'll work for everybody.
You want to try
the funniest thing the funniest thing on that group was that I asked them, I'm like, because they all looked like they never cracked a smile, never looked like they, never raised their voice. Everything was quiet, metered.
Absolutely stoic.
Yeah, absolutely stoic. And at the end, I'm like, so did you guys have any fun? And they're all like, they looked at each other like, yeah, we had a blast. This is the best game we've ever run with. And I'm like,
Hey,
that's pretty high praise. But they're like, yeah, no, this, they're like, man, we thought a couple times that was going to go off the rails. But I'm like, yeah, I tried. I really tried hard.
So I mean, that it really comes down to, I guess you can play it both ways and enjoy it, and sometimes it's nice just to play it straight and do well, and sometimes it's better just to have things blow up in your face and see what happens. So it's good that all kinds of styles work. So it sounds like this is really a nice. These adventures are really nicely done in the sense of you can take them kind of, if you get the core book, you can kind of bring them in, and it'd be a great palate cleanser for somebody who's been kind of playing kind of a low level, low power, novice up to veteran kind of game, and they're enjoying it. But now it's like, here's something a little more gonzo. Let's
Yeah.
go a little crazy. We'll have crazy armor, crazy weapons. Just see how far Savage Worlds can push the envelope of that kind of fun. So it sounds like it's really well. It'd be great for people to get the core book. I keep mentioning that. Get the core book, and then get these adventures, and you'd have some really nice stuff to kind of just surprise your players, I would guess. If they're used to Savage
Right.
Pathfinder, or they've been playing Deadlands or something, it's like this would be just crazy different for them, and would be totally enjoyable, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the reviewer from Forbes described Battlelords, and we like this quote so much. I think we put it on the back of the core rulebook for Savage Battlelords. He said, "The glorious excess of Battlelords," and it's doubly so for the Savage Worlds version. And yeah, it's you can make it as over the top as you want, and still have lots of fun. We do have a little bit of advice in Savage Charlie Foxtrot on if you want to run it
Okay.
just standard Savage Worlds, how you would convert it so that your characters don't turn into a thin red mist in the first few seconds. But if you want to get the core rules and give it a try, or even the quick start rules,
Oh, okay.
they're
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
free download. We actually use the quick start rules typically to run Battlelords games at the convention because people don't have time to dig through, all the stuff. So we'll just usually run it with the quick start rules.
Oh, so this new adventure pack can be you can use the quick start rules, and so that's even greater, right? Then you can try it out on your players, and if they go, I really like to kind of play this sort of high powered um, gonzo, kind of mercenary or pirate or whatever, then you can go get the core book. You don't have to worry about investing. Oh, just buy the core book. It's really pretty, so you might as well just add it to your collection. It's a pretty book, so a lot of really nice art. You guys have a lot of nice art in your books for sure. So do a nice job on that.
We tried to make the book one of my goals for the very first book we released and for the Savage Battlelords books were to make it as much an art book as a role playing game book, where you could put it on your table and somebody could pick it up, like you said, and look through it and they're like, "Wow, this is really cool art." Yeah, we're proud of the art as well.
Yeah, and I'll just add as well, for those players who are not familiar with Battlelords and haven't picked up the quick start rules or the main rules, just something to think about is when it comes to conversions, there's kind of a scale, right? How much they use the original Savage Worlds and how much they really kind of create their own thing that's kind of Savage, right? So you kind of have how much do they have to change just to get it to fit. And basically, if we could, we use things from Savage. And for most things, like spell effect type things, work well enough for the mental powers that we have in the game, for example. So there's very few things we've had to add there. Most of it's really tweaking it, saying, use this power, but use it as electricity or as fire or as cold or whatever.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that are just reused. So from a playability perspective, it's not, while we talk about the equipment and all this stuff and it's really cool, from a mechanics perspective, there's really not a lot of new stuff that's gonna be a struggle. The armor, with the way it manages the toughness and wounds, that's really one of the things that makes it a little different. The rest of it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you can literally bring your microline missile rack into Deadlands and use it. You'll probably vaporize your enemies, but you could definitely add it in, and it would, basically they're arm rockets, so you could literally fire off, 12 arm rockets at somebody and got their entire, in Deadlands. But it'd be cool one-shot device.
Well, you could totally
just
do.
drop in.
You could totally do something like Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, with kind of bringing this in with Savage Pathfinder. Just think of the hilarity that could ensue if you introduce this kind of stuff. That would be fun. You got me thinking now. I do have a convention event, which is where you discover ancient technology, but I never thought about what if they actually got a chance to use it. So
Yeah,
This thing, do.
yeah. A barbarian with an omega weapon. I mean, that's tons of fun. Yeah, it would.
raging with a high-powered weapon. That's not a combination you want to go against. So well, very cool. Any other things that we should talk about that you wanna let the audience know that's going on with you guys? Any conventions coming up? Any appearances? Places people should come and check you guys out? Get a chance to play some of these scenarios, or?
We're at Gen Con every year. This year, we are also going to be at Gary Con in Lake Geneva in early March. Mentioned earlier, you can get the free quick start rules for Classic or Savage Battlelords on Drive-Thru-RPG or our website. There's also an art PDF, a free art PDF. We're always talking about the art. If you want to see the art, you can download the PDF for free and take a look at some of the art that's in the core rule books.
And I'll be at Tampa Nerd Con in November. So I'll be running both Savage and Classic Battlelords. So if you're going to be in that area in St. Pete, swing on by, run it, join me for a couple games.
Sounds cool. Very cool. So I hope a lot of success with I think adventures are a lot of fun to have, something you can just pick up and drop in and play. And it sounds like it really gives you a flavor of the game. So if you want to run a campaign, but you're not sure how to start, sounds like this would be a good Kickstarter to get in on, to get a real flavor for what the game's capable of and what the different character types are and things like that. So a lot of success. Let's Kickstarter is going on. Well, as the time we recorded this, it was going on, and then it goes till the 31st of October, right?
October morning of the 31st. I think 9:30-ish Eastern time is when it ends.
Okay.
AM.
All right. So this shouldn't go out. This should go out reasonable time where people have many weeks to be able to get in on this and back it. And I think it's a really cool idea. I mean the book, it's great. The books you put out are great. So I have no doubt that this is going to be a fantastic looking piece of work. And you've said you've run these for a lot of time, so it's going to be real polished. It's going to be easy for the game master. It sounds really good. Sounds like it's a great publication that's coming out. So I recommend everybody check it out, especially since you can use the quick start rules. You can go in on this, and then if you enjoy it, you can get the core rules and all the other supplements these guys have that's fun. Get the catalog too, because I like the idea of all the different creatures. That's fun. So anyway, thank you again for coming on. It's always great to talk to you guys. You always have really cool products. So once again, I thank Tony, Dave, and Kurt for being on the show. I'm Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff. We'll have links for everything in the description so that you can make sure you get involved. And we will catch you next time. Thanks, guys, again. World, one of the best games today. Savage World, Benny, enhance my play. different. Setting in it